Rand Paul saying, today I will reissue my criminal referral for Anthony Fauci to Trump DOJ. So I want to read this portion, which is, this is from the New York Times story. It says, at the January 19th meeting, which took place in the Yellow Oval Room of the White House residence, Mr. Biden kept his aides until nearly 10 p.m. to talk through such decisions, according to people familiar with the matter. The emails show that an aide to Mr. Siskel sent a draft of a summary to Mr. Biden's decision Mr. Biden's decisions at that meeting to an assistant to Mr. Zients. So, like, this is convoluted. An aide to Mr. Siskel sent a draft of purportedly Mr. Biden's decisions to an assistant to Mr. Zients. Okay, so these are two assistants talking to each other, copying Mr. Siskel at 10:03. The assistant forwarded to Mr. Reed and Mr. Zients asking for their approval, and then sent a final version to Ms. Feldman. Feldman was the one who ran them through the Autopen, copying many participants. 3 minutes later, Mr. Zients hit reply all and wrote, I approve the use of Autopen for the execution of all the following pardons. This is why Rand Paul is saying Fauci for jail. Not the full reason is because Fauci lied to Congress, but he's saying this is why the belief now is, and this is a senator saying this, the pardons are void.
Yeah. They have to be void. Up. They have to be void because Joe Biden didn't pardon them. He pardoned the process. And that's not the same as saying, I pardon you, right? Like, I will come up with a structure. That's not how, this is where it's going to go to the courts. Eventually, everything else goes to the damn courts. I assume this will get litigated to a certain point. But otherwise, what is the role of the president if it can be delegated to the staffers? Then we don't have a president. We have a figurehead. Right? And the staffers do everything.
Wouldn't be the first time.
I think Autopen is clearly unconstitutional and should be banned.
No, it should be totally fine for, like, happy 7th birthday to Peter and Marsha. Like, that is allowed. Like, Autopen to sign Merry Christmas.
Let's ban that too.
No.
But that's what it's supposed to be used for.
That's a dick move.
That's what it's supposed to be used
Imagine,
for.
I still think it's a dick move. So fine, I guess it's allowed. But could you imagine if it's like your birthday and then you get a letter and it's like a signature and you're like, oh, wow, thanks. And then someone comes and like, imagine then someone came to me and said, Tim, you know that card you sent to Daniel for his birthday? And I go, I didn't send him a card for his birthday. That's exactly what happened with Joe Biden. How many times did that happen?
And that's totally fine when you get 40,000 emails a day saying, can you send a letter to my mom for her birthday? Of course, President Trump or President Biden is not going to sign.
Like, that means my Trump autograph stuff's not real?
But a lot, that's why a real autograph is real. And that's the problem. Like, if you auto-penned Willie Mays' signature, this baseball is worth nothing.
We take them all to Pawn Stars now to get these verified.
Yeah. So then it's an auto. I mean, there's validity, there's power in the signature, and that's why you can't forge it.
That actually is funny. Like, now that there's this Autopen scandal, someone might go to Pawn Stars and be like, I have this photo of, Joe Biden with Richard Nixon signed by Joe Biden. I'm like,
Sorry.
Was it?
So
Was it really?
I think one of the problems that the Trump administration ran into with another story was over-promising and under-delivering, and the political cynic in me suggests that the same thing is going to be happening here. I don't suspect that anybody who actually received a pardon is going to have it withdrawn or whatnot. I don't actually think that Fauci is going to face justice in any, real way.
I hope you're wrong,
So, like,
Elaad.
while the optimist in me, I'm purely cynical. I don't think that this is actually going anywhere, and I feel like we're being, this is just a story to help calm the base down.
I hope you're
I know
wrong.
this is
I
coming
hope you're
from
wrong,
the
but I think
Times.
Wait, hold on. Are you saying over the Epstein stuff?
I'm saying they overpromised and underdelivered for the Epstein stuff, and they could learn from that by not overpromising and underdelivering in the case here with the pardons.
Elaad, real quick. Can you name a story where the Republicans under promised and overperformed?
No, I mean, it's in the politician's nature to, but I mean, it's really biting the administration in a recent story, in the Epstein case story. And now I think it's going to bite them when none of this comes to fruition in the future, because again, I don't think Fauci's going to face any real justice.
Agreed. But I don't think the New York Times wrote this to appease the base of Trump. I do think there's a catastrophe, a crisis in the Epstein story, for which there's no way they make it go away. And it's really silly now. I think, what was it, Charlie Kirk was saying, what did he talk to Trump? Is that what happened?
Let's put an allegedly in there.
Yeah.
Allegedly,
the
President
White House.
gave him a phone call and was upset, especially with how much talk of Epstein was going on at the TPUSA Summit.
We'll get into the, I don't want to go too hard on the Epstein stuff now, because we do have some stories to pull up there. The New York Times clearly wrote this story to cover up for Biden. That's why the headline of the story is Biden says he signed off on these pardons. Because when you actually go through it, the New York Times, this is what they do. They're front loading the story. So your average person sees the headline, reads the first paragraph and says, so Biden approved it. But if you actually read the whole way through, you're like, wait a minute. Now, just real quick, why would the New York Times write their story this way? Instead of just giving me a succinct one-paragraph intro, Republicans are investigating the pardons that Joe Biden issued because they're arguing that Autopen is illegitimate. Aides and staffers ran these pardons through Autopen without Joe Biden's approval. End of story. The New York Times wrote this to cover for Democrats, not to shift the narrative off of. I don't think the New York Times was like, let's collude to help Trump.
To turn it around on Trump at some point with his Autopen use, Yeah. If there was, I believe there probably was.
There was, but I think this term, Trump has not used it.
Not this term.
Because he's signing everything with those big markers.
Except for birthday cards and Christmas cards. But my only hope on the Fauci thing is I think Senator Rand Paul has such personal animus for him that I think the Trump administration separately, you may be right, like they may overpromise and underdeliver. But I think Senator Rand Paul has such personal. They had such nasty exchanges, and he's a doctor. He felt like he was questioned as a doctor. So I'm kind of hoping Rand Paul is like a pit bull with this and just goes after it nonstop.
I think he has every reason to try to get back into the good graces of the MAGA folk because he voted against the president's big, beautiful bill and has been getting a lot of heat from that. Maybe I just look at politics in a much more cynical way. I think this definitely would help him because he's posturing on an issue that he aligns with on the MAGA base. But this is the same guy who said he doesn't want to use the military on illegal immigrants to help ICE in any capacity. I think he's against mass migration and he's against the Trump agenda that he tried to pass in Congress.
But the Fauci thing is one of the biggest stories that we need major accountability for.
Sure. Like and if by accountability...
He shut down the country.
Donald
Trump
shut down he was the president.
Donald Trump's got other issues I want to investigate.
Trump shut down. Trump proposed the shutdown for 2 weeks. The states shut down each of their individual states. Some were open, some were closed.
And Fauci was the figurehead of the destruction.
Fauci was advising it, and Fauci was working on gain of function research, which he lied about to Congress, to the Senate. That's why Rand Paul's saying lock him up because he lied. And Newsweek headline. They tried to be very nice when they said he was like, what do they say, untruthful comments made? It's
and then NIH just changed the definition of gain of function, right? And they were like, well, we just changed it. So no, we weren't doing that. Right. Look at our new definition on our new website, which was released a couple hours ago before I testified. So
love how that works.
Yeah. just always just change the names of everything,
all of these guys need to be brought to testify in front of Congress.
Yes.
The chief of staff and then all the people who are involved in these emails should all be dragged in front of Congress, and all this should happen before the midterms, so the Republicans will still have the majority when it happens.
I'm wondering, one of the things too, especially, which we'll get into in a little bit more, but how Democrats are just so pro Epstein release now. And I'm like, guys, the challenge I see now, because like we mentioned Charlie Kirk saying I don't trust my friends on this one. It's like Democrats did not care at all under Biden. They were just not going to bring it up. Mm-hmm. And now that Trump promised to do it but isn't, they're acting like it's the biggest scandal ever.
Yeah.
I just don't believe them.
Of course not.
Well, I think the president put it succinctly in one of his Truth Social posts where he said if there was anything damning related to MAGA or himself, the Biden and Merrick Garland would have, the Biden administration and Merrick Garland definitely would have released it. Why would they have held on to it? Anything relating to Trump, just because the president had some picture with Jeffrey Epstein is why I think Democrats are trying to advance it. I also think Democrats and leftists notice the fissure in MAGA as a result of this, and they will try to push and exploit this as much as they can. I think although there is some there to the Epstein story, I think every cynic, every person who's critical of the MAGA agenda will use it to try to, create more fissures and exploit that fissure.
Yeah, it's the same they do with Elon, right? As soon as they see something that is splitting the MAGA movement where people are taking sides, the Democrats pile on because they want to exacerbate that fissure. And so...
Well, Elon was disgusting about this. Elon was giving this more credence that the president allegedly had a business with Epstein that completely didn't exist. So it's like, even if somebody like Elon is willing to, throw mud on the president's name and slander him like that.
I got an idea. Can we find someone whose last name is Epstein. There was a guy on X.
A lot of them. Yeah.
His name was Jeffrey R. Epstein, and someone quote tweeted him and said that R is holding up the weight of the world.
That's great.
It's like, if my last name was Epstein, because it's a common last name, I would create my top 10 newsworthy individuals of the week list, and that way I could tweet, here's who's on the Epstein list, and then just start putting people's names on. You can't sue you for defamation. You can
there's a famous Hollywood reporter, Kevin McCarthy, and when McCarthy became speaker, that was like the running joke that he'd be like, seriously guys, wrong McCarthy, like he's covering like Brad Pitt's newest movie, and he would see all this like F you, like I was like, I'm not that Kevin McCarthy. So could do that with the Jeffrey Epstein. Put out a casting call for a Jeffrey Epstein. He can sit right there.
Hey, we'll make a website, epsteinslist.org.
There's a politician in New York.
It'll be like to find local services to help you out.
Yeah.
Someone just ran in New York with an Epstein name.
I've met other Daniel Turners. So that name's kind of boring as hell.
There's a lot of them.
So yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah. Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.